Business Review. Today we'll be talking about freelancing and how Outsized is creating a community for freelancers. Joining us is Anurag Bhalla, Managing Director and co-founder of Outsized. Welcome, Anurag.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, Anurag, before we begin, can you take us through what Outsized is and what you offer?
Absolutely. So Outsize has been running for nearly 4 years now. We're a growth markets focused business. So our core markets are across Asia and Africa. So we have offices in Cape Town, Mumbai, Bahrain, and Singapore, servicing Middle East, North Africa, Southeast Asia, and South Africa. Um, our core proposition is essentially to support the professional freelance market. So we are a professional freelancing marketplace, bringing together large enterprises who require independent talent for the execution of key projects and filling key capability gaps within organizations with high quality independent consultants, freelancers across these markets.
So, to give our viewers some context, can you describe the current state of freelancers in today's professional environment?
Absolutely. So traditionally across the Asia Africa market, freelancing was more focused on sort of lower skilled, lower value, transactional type work. What's really shifted over the last 5 years is that sort of gig economy, which is originally focused on that sort of low value segment, has really lifted up into the professional segment. Um, and what we've seen in terms of big shifts in the market on both demand side as well as the talent side is a growing demand and supply. So on the demand side, what we've seen is large organizations have increasingly started to prioritize agility and flexibility of their business models in an increasingly uncertain environment. So if we look across our markets, political, social, economic, and environmental conditions are very uncertain, very volatile. And in these times, organizations really require agility to succeed. They still need to execute and get things done, but they're looking to do that in a more flexible way. And therefore, their talent models also need to change. The traditional models of hiring large volumes of permanent employees in large bricks and mortar businesses is shifting, and they're looking on a more talent on demand type model, bringing in expertise as and when they require it, bringing them that flexibility. And on the supply side, on the talent side, what we've seen is this significant shift in our relationship with work. Um, Historically, people have very much associated the identity with the brand that they work with, the company they work with. And increasingly, what we've seen is a shift between from that to people associating their identity with their skill or their expertise, and increasingly wanting to take more control over their own destiny, over their own careers, choosing who they work with, when they work, how they work, what types of projects and work they take on. So those two significant shifts in terms of people's identities and relationship with work changing, um, their desire for more flexibility and control, and organizations require for more agility and flexibility has really made this market really start to thrive. Um, that these markets still remain relatively nascent and immature compared to, say, more of the sort of UK, US, European markets, where this type of model of work has existed for a number of years. Um, and so the infrastructure to support both sides isn't as mature. And that's really what Outsize's mission is, to bring in that infrastructure, provide that marketplace to allow this particular sector to really start to thrive in a sustainable way, in a way that will be fair, create a level playing field, and ensure that both organizations and individuals can succeed in this new sort of relationship.
We've also seen the Ministry of Manpower report a total of 248,500 freelancers, coming from 228,200 in the previous year. So, What does this boom mean for the future of professionals in Singapore's workforce?
Yeah, I think, and the interesting thing here is that a lot of people, I think, when they think about Singapore specifically, think that, previously when I speak to people, think that freelancing doesn't exist. People don't work in that way. We ran an event recently in Singapore for, professional independent consultants and freelancers in Singapore. And it was clear that this is a really growing and thriving market. I think, interestingly for Singapore, to be an independent or a freelancer, you obviously either need to be a Singaporean or you need to be a PR. Or what's increasingly happening is that people are setting up their own entities, setting up their own businesses to actually be able to consult and provide services as an independent and then build their own businesses around that. Um, so the environment is starting to really thrive, and individuals are increasingly moving away from that, I guess, original sort of cultural maybe people had that freelancers are people that can't get full-time jobs. If you look at the younger segment, traditionally, across Asia and Africa, there was a bit of a cultural constraint around people moving into freelancing. Parents and families wanted their children to come home talking about the big company that they joined. But now that mentality is really shifting. People are seeing that actually they can be their own bosses. They can actually build their businesses, and we're seeing this interesting life cycle where individuals are moving permanent roles, becoming independent consultants and freelancers, getting success, and then through that actually building their own boutique consulting firms. And in Singapore, there's an increasing focus on entrepreneurialism, creating new businesses, supporting that. And I think that will really help create the market.
Is there a specific age group that prefers freelancing, or is this applicable across all?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. In terms of the personas that we see in the market, traditionally you would see that it was for, especially in Asian Africa and Southeast Asia included in that, freelancing, as I say, was either for the sort of low skilled, more transactional skills market, or in the professional skills market where we operate, it was very much for the senior level executives. So people who are potentially approaching retirement or in retirement, providing advisory services on an independent basis. What we've seen really shift is you're now getting people between the sort of 5 to 15 year experience range entering the freelance economy. So people are actually leaving permanent roles to become independents. And I think what's driven that, interestingly, is that the myth of a permanent role being a job for life, bringing security, has somewhat been broken down. We've seen large organizations across markets, release permanent employees on a large scale level. And I think people then look at the market and say, well, actually, if a permanent role isn't going to bring me security, which was probably a big constraint around people moving into freelancing, was around it's not as secure a source of income as a permanent role. But if permanent roles started to reduce in terms of their ability to deliver security, the benefits of independent consulting and freelancing really started to dominate. So we're seeing that sort of 5 to 15 year experience range really start to increase. The senior experience range has always been there, and is growing. And then interestingly, what I find really fascinating is the younger segment have a completely different view of work than, say, I had, as a new graduate coming into the workplace. They are a lot more selective around the sort of work-life balance they want. Their focus is less on longevity within a company. So, previously, if you think about it, we would assess someone's success at a role in terms of how long were you in this job? Why did you leave before a year? And if people were jumping around from job to job to job, it would be a sense of sort of negative connotation to it. now the younger segment of the workforce are seeking an accumulation of skills and knowledge as quickly as they can. So they're looking for diversity, they're looking for a variation of skills, they're looking for a more variety of experience. And so freelancing is actually ideal for that younger segment as they move from project to project, company to company, building skills and knowledge, building a portfolio of work, and also having that control of their own life and destiny, which I think that younger segment really aspire towards. So the 5 to 15 year experience segment is fastest growing. The senior segment's always been there. And that younger segment, I think, is really coming with a force. So I think you'll see the nature of that workforce as the younger generation really start to come into the workforce shift significantly.
Anurag, it's also been great that you've mentioned how business owners usually look at how long a person has stayed at a certain company. So maybe for the benefit of the business owners watching this video, can you share what help or what are the advantages of getting freelancers for their business?
Sure, absolutely. So the first thing is that as a business owner, no matter what's happening around you in terms of volatility, uncertainty, you have to get on and execute. In times of volatility and uncertainty, which is the world that we now live in, I think it's accepted that we will live in an increasingly uncertain and volatile environment. Um, to be able to execute in that environment, the best asset you have is agility. Agility, the ability to move quickly, respond to changing environments. And your talent model is central to that. If you have a fixed skill set, a fixed talent model within your business, it makes it very difficult for you to pivot quickly. And so, what independent consultants give you is access to high quality skills and talent very quickly. So, if you look at a traditional hiring model, it looks at like around 6 months, you know, to actually get someone into your organization. Once you've actually gone through the recruitment process, paid all your recruitment fees, gone through the selection process, waited for your notice period to the person that you've hired, and then actually get them into your organization. That's 6 months gone. Then you're training them up, you're developing them, and then actually the need for that talent may have gone. So the traditional recruitment model and the traditional view of bringing in talent has moved. So you're able to now, an independent consultant, you can bring them on within days. They're proven because they have a portfolio of skills and projects that they can bring to the table. They're a variable cost. So actually, they don't hit your permanent headcount numbers. If things do change in your business, you're able to release that cost much quicker than if that headcount was permanent. So access to the speed of access, the skills that they bring, and the agility from a cost base as well. Those are significant advantages to be able to execute in this very dynamic environment that we have. Um, the interesting thing that businesses need to consider though is that there is an importance around acknowledging that these freelance independents aren't commodities that we can just take in and use how we choose, right? So these independents and freelancers are in high demand. They have a choice in terms of which organizations they need to work for. So just because they're not permanent headcount doesn't mean organizations can treat them with less care or less focus, or think about how they integrate them into their business, how they support them, how they give them a good experience, ensuring they get paid on time. And again, we're seeing that maturity increasingly established within organizations who really care about the experience they give, their contract talent as well as their permanent talent.
Now let's go to outsized. What benefits do you provide to freelancers?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So what we've always focused on is rather than just matching a market, so rather than focusing on a transactional proposition that just matches projects for freelancers, we really wanted to make sure that we were creating an environment for the market to be sustainable and to operate fairly for both sides. So for freelancers, we've realized that there's lots of upsides, but there are lots of challenges of being an independent consultant or freelancer as well. That support infrastructure you get from a permanent role is no longer there. You're working as an independent. It can be quite lonely, can be quite isolated. It's a highly intensive, experience because you're trying to win a project. You're then on a project. You're trying to execute the project. You're trying to think about winning the next project. You're also managing all your administration, tax filings, timesheets, invoicing. So it has a lot of challenges around it. So our focus was around understanding the broader needs and challenges that freelancers face in our markets and trying to actually solve for a broader set of needs and challenges that go beyond bringing them projects. So what we've recently launched is a community platform. One of the biggest things that we heard from our freelancers was, you know, I don't have a support infrastructure or a support network. When I come across a challenge or a problem, either on project or off project, something that I'm trying to solve, I don't have anyone to turn to or go to that I had when I was in a company where I could go to a team member, go to another individual in the organization. So we decided to create this community platform where individuals can connect with other independents and freelancers, either within the same geography or within the same skill segment, within the same experience range. They can create their own community groups as well as be part of the overall outsized community. And that helps them with a broad range of needs. They're able to solve particular problems and challenges they're facing by leveraging the knowledge and experience of other freelancers. They're able to actually access other project opportunities through the community. We run events and knowledge sharing sessions where I actually help freelancers on particular topics such as how do I be a compliant freelancer? What are the complexities around tax? And actually, really recently, we ran a seminar on health and wellness and well-being of freelancers. We actually saw that there was an increasing challenge from a mental health perspective and overall well-being for freelancers because of that lack of community, because of that isolation, which was actually accelerated by COVID, where again freelancers weren't able to actually go on site, meet their clients, spend time with the project team. So they became increasingly individual contributors. And so the community really helps address some of those broader challenges and provide that support infrastructure that was missing since they sort of left the permanent workplace.
Lastly, Anurag, before we wrap up this interview, can you share what outsized plans are for the future, as well as where can we access outsized if ever we are interested in going freelance?
Absolutely. So, from a, I'll answer the second question first. So, in terms of, if individuals are interested in moving into the freelance sector, we provide a lot of content and support, guidance, and tools for individuals who have an aspiration or are considering or thinking about moving into this sector. So, we have a lot of content and information on our site. Individuals can also actually sign up onto the platform before they're even ready to actually work as a freelancer, and they can identify that in their during the sign up journey, and then join the community where again they can ask other people around what is the experience like, helping them make that leap. We also run regular profiles and stories on freelancers who have made that transition, telling their stories on how they actually made the transition, the challenges they faced, the upsides, the downsides, the real realities of being a freelancer. There's a lot of great resources available on the site within the community, so I'd encourage people to sign up onto the platform if they have that interest. In terms of outside, we're seeing significant growth across our markets, both in terms of the demand for freelance talent, and as I said, from the talent ecosystem as well. So we're really looking to build on that demand, grow the business significantly. Our desire is to be the number one freelancing platform for growth markets supporting Asia and Africa. We're committed to Asia Africa markets. So from Singapore, we service the whole of Southeast Asia. Currently doing a huge amount of work in Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, as well as now interestingly supporting Hong Kong, and increasingly getting pulled into Japan. So we see a real opportunity to sort of broaden out across our markets, and build out a broader range of services for our freelancers. One of the things that we're looking at now is partnering with potential ecosystem partners that can solve for some of the challenges we face. So, for example, freelancers have interesting challenges around financial services. So, freelancers may be earning fantastic day rates, and if you look at their annual incomes, they're earning often more than they would be within a permanent environment. However, banks and insurance companies, for example, still see them as a higher risk than a permanent employee. So if you look at a lot of the processes around applying for a credit card or applying for a loan, they'll ask for pay slips. Freelancers don't have pay slips. So we're looking to try and, again, partner with, banks, insurance companies, other ecosystem partners that we can bring into the community and offer our freelancers new services, new products that can solve for the broader range of needs that they have. The Outsized can't solve for all of those needs, but we can help partner with other organizations to do that.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and for joining us today, Anurag.
Thank you for your time. Really enjoyed speaking with you.
Again, that was Anurag Bhalla, Managing Director and co-founder of Outsized. For more business news, visit sbr.com.sg, where you can find articles, interviews, and event updates. This is Ces Dimalanta reporting for Singapore Business Review.